All right, I'm going to import this file called crane, and I'm going to import it and retain layer sizes and hit import, hit OK, and then I'm going to double click on my composition. This is what it looks like. So what we want to do is we want to set up this robot arm so that these two things are called the pinchers. So it looks like jaws opening and closing so that they can, it's like jaws that can open and grab something. And then we need to set those up to be to these arms so that it looks like a robot arm. So first things first, you can do this in any order. You can move the anchor points and then move your layers into position, or you can move your layers into position and then move the anchor points. But I find it's easier to just move everything into position first. So I'm going to take arm number 2 here, and I'm going to move it so that its joint matches with arm number 1's front joint, like this. And I'm actually going to turn off the red box and the yellow box for a second, because I don't need to see those right now. Okay. Now, this is a little hard to see, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, just close enough. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is set arm number 1's anchor point. So I'm going to hit the letter Y. I'm going to move this to the center of that circle. Then on arm number 2, I'm going to make sure that I select the layer and move its anchor point to the center of this circle. And then arm number 3, I'm going to move it here to this circle here. Now before I continue, I need to set up a little bit of parenting. So I'm going to parent arm number 3 to arm number 2 using the pick whip. Then I'm going to parent arm number 2 to arm number 1 using the pick whip. Now I'm just going to select these 3 layers and hit the letter R, and I'm just going to move the rotation of these layers. So I'm going to remove this one, and this is where I go, oh, you know what, that isn't in the best spot. So let me select layer number 2 again and just kind of move that so I'm a little more happy. And it's still not great. Let's do this. It's easier to see the center of this. Now, another way to do this would be to actually create circle layers as your joints and make those the parent of the arm so that you can get it exactly in the center of the circle. Right now I'm just kind of eyeballing this, so it may not be as perfect as I'd like. Okay, so now we can rotate this. It's pretty good. It's still not perfect, but it'll do. Maybe put it right there. I'm being too picky about this. Anyway, this is something that you can spend a lot of time perfecting. For now, I'm being a little bit quick about it, but there. So I've now got my arm set up so that when arm number 2 rotates, it does that. When arm number 3 rotates, it does this. And when arm number 1 rotates, it does this. Okay? And I really did not put these in a good spot. Center it here. Center it about there. I'm not good at seeing the center of a circle without some guides, but that should be good. Okay, now for these pinchers. What I want is, I want the pinchers to have their anchor points in these little corners right here. So this one needs to be here and this one needs to be here. And again, if you're not sure if you like where they look or where they're positioned, just rotate the layer and see. Okay, yeah, now it looks like jaws opening like that. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to move both of these layers. So I'm going to select both of them, hit V to get my arrow tool. I'm going to move both of these layers so that that anchor point is centered on arm number 3, and then I'm going to parent both of those to arm number 3. So when arm number 3 moves, they go with it. They can still move independently like this, right? Something like that. Okay, so this is a good setup for setting up this arm. Now I want to talk about one advanced thing that will make this even easier. One of the things that can be frustrating when you have 2 layers that you want rotating on the same point, but you also want them individually moving in different directions, it can be kind of annoying in this situation to control these. So there is a type of layer you can create which will help you, and this is called a null object. If you go up to Layer, New, Null Object, a null object is just a dummy layer that sits in your timeline down here that is not actually visible. When I render, it disappears. So right now it's playing my animation, which there is no actual animation, but it's playing my video here, and the null layer disappears. So null layers are actually very useful as just these dummy layers to help you set up parenting hierarchies a little bit more easily. So I'm going to rename this null object by selecting it and hitting enter and calling this pincher control. Whoops, control, like that. Now I'm going to move this. Notice when you create a null object, the anchor point is not in the center, it's actually in the top left corner. So I'm going to move that to, so I'm moving the anchor point of my null object to the center of where I want these 2 pinchers to be controlled. And now I'm going to parent my 2 pincher layers to this layer so that the 2 pincher layers can be moved independently or as a single unit when I move my pincher control. Then I'm going to parent my pincher control layer to arm number 3. So when arm number 3 moves, it still goes with it, but I can still open and close this mouth. Okay, so this, now that I've got the basics here set up, again, I'm only animating rotation for these. I am not animating position for any of these layers. So I'm going to set my arm into position as if this is like a sleeping snake, like this. Then I go here to about the, I don't know, 15 frame mark, about half a second, and set a keyframe for rotation for all of these. Okay, so from here to here, there's no movement. And then I'm going to go out to about 1 second ahead of that. So 1 second and 15 frames. And I'm going to deselect these layers, and I'm going to start positioning my robot arm into place. So I'm going to lift this up like this, like it's waking up a little bit. So it's stretching, okay? And then I'm going to rotate this around like this. So now, because I already had these keyframes set, this is what it looks like. It kind of wakes up, okay? Now, let's say that starting from here, I want the mouth to open. The problem is, when I initially set my keyframes for these two pinchers, I set them back here. So if I go here and I don't want the pincher mouth to open until this point, this is going to be a problem if I start opening it here, right? If I open it like this, as if it's opening its mouth, it's actually going to start opening its mouth from this point, right? So I need to move the keyframes for my pincher, my two pincher layers here, like this, so that it stays closed and then it opens like this. Okay, I can kind of offset this little so it looks a little better. It's like yawning. It's like, oh, waking up. Okay, now another thing that really helps is changing these all to easy ease keyframes and everything. It'll make this look a lot less clunky. And of course, it is a robot, so maybe that's what you want to go for. But for the most part, I think easy ease makes this look better. But I don't want to apply this till the end because I'm going to be doing a lot of keyframing down the line, and it's just best to wait until the end. So this is my first step. My robot wakes up and opens its mouth. Okay, now I'm going to turn on my little boxes here. What I want to happen is I want the robot to wake up, and I'm going to move this over just a little bit and move this over just a little bit so it doesn't look like it's in the way there. Okay, so I want my robot to wake up, open its mouth, pause for a second, and then I want it to situate itself over the top of the red box so then it comes down and picks up the red box, lifts it up, and drops it onto the yellow box. Okay, so I need to have it pause for a second. So the problem is, again, if I start keyframing, if I start moving this into my next position, it will start doing it from here, and it'll immediately start moving, and I don't want it to do that. I want it to stay still until here, till about 3 seconds, then start moving. So what I need to do before I have any keyframes down here is I need to set keyframes for these spots by just clicking on these little dots. Now remember, if you click on the stopwatch, it just erases your keyframe, so you don't want to do that. But now I know for sure there's not going to be any movement until here. Now I'm going to move out, and I'm going to situate my next position. So I'm just going to start rotating this until I have this in the position I like. And this is kind of a little bit of trial and error, and this is another reason why it's really nice to have this pincher controller instead of trying to animate each of these individually. It just makes this a lot easier. Okay, so it comes out like this, and then it stops again. Now I'm just going to these two keyframes for the pinchers, I'm just going to do this so that it doesn't move. Now I'm going to have it yawns, and actually, just for fun, I'm going to actually have it close again. So I am actually going to have these pinchers close like this. So it's kind of like, oh, and then it closes, comes down here. Now you can add a lot more motion in here. You can have it bouncing around and stuff, but I'm trying to keep this simple. So then again, I wanted to stay still for a minute, so I'm going to go like this and just set keyframes so that from this point to this point, these keyframes are matching, so there's no movement. Now I'm going to have this slowly drop down. So this is the part where it's a lot easier to have my pincher control. And I'm also going to have the mouth open like this. So this is what it looks like now. And that's not quite straight enough, so I'm going to probably bring this down and this back a little, and this arm will go down. This is just kind of trial and error. This is one of the more fun and more annoying things about animation if you don't enjoy the tedious nature of this, but I like it. I like to gradually just tweak the keyframes until I like what I got. So I'm going to center these a little bit more like this. Okay, so it's basically coming in to take a bite, right? So it opens up, yawns, drops down like this, then it comes down like this and centers over the top. And I actually think these keyframes, I don't like where they're seated. So this is a really neat trick. Since these keyframes and these keyframes match, I can select all of them, and then I can shift. And as long as they're all selected, I can kind of tweak them all at the same time, and it will let me kind of recenter this where I want. So I feel like I need to just do it for this one. I need to move it back like that, and then I need to do it for just these. Move it down like that, and then I need to do it for just these two. Now, because I have the two selected, it adjusts them both the same. Okay, so that feels a little better to me. Okay, so it comes down. Then I'm going to have the pinchers close. So this pincher goes like that, and this pincher goes, and I find adding in sound effects helps with my animating. Okay, so now again, I need to set keyframes for all these other things so it stays still. Now here's the tricky part. I need to now move this robot back, but have the box going with it. Right now, when I move the robot back, I like how that goes directly back, like that. But I don't like, but the red box is not going with it. So how do I do that? Well, there's a little trick. If you select your red box layer and duplicate it, so Control D or Command D on the Mac, I now have two red box layers. And just to make this more clear, I'm going to change this pincher control to blue, and I'm going to change these two red boxes to red, and I'm going to change the yellow box to yellow, just so that we can see here what's happening. And all of, actually all the pincher layers will make them green, as well as the pincher control, just so they match the artwork a little bit better. Okay, this helps me keep track down here of what's up here. So I need at this moment to take red box number 2 and move its in point over here like this, and red box, just the original red box, I need to move its out point over like this. So from our point of view, it looks like the same layer, but in reality, this layer and this layer are different versions of the red box. Now this second one, I need to parent it to my pincher control. So watch what happens. It's not parented. This one is not parented to anything. Its red box parent is set to none. So, but starting right here, this one, which is in the same position as this one, is parented. So now when this moves back, it goes with it. Okay. So right here, I'm going to set keyframes for all of these. I'm going to have it come down very directly in front like this, and rotate like this. So it goes like this. It goes, and now it needs to just go straight down. So again, I set keyframes for all these so they stay in place. And now I need to just have this go straight down. So I'm going to have this go down. I'm going to have this go back. I'm going to have this go down some more. I'm going to have this go back some more. I'm going to have this one go forward a little bit and actually go like that. And then this is where this pincher control comes in handy. I can get this exactly centered where I want. And then I just kind of tweak these until it feels flat and straight. Like that. Okay. So it goes like this, comes down, grabs it, comes back, back down. Now I stop. Now I need to set keyframes again for all these. This is the part where I need to duplicate this layer again and move its in point and out point. Now, I did it the hard way. I duplicated the layer and moved the in points and out points. There's actually a keyboard shortcut for that. If you hit Control D and then you move the in points, you can do that and the out point manually, right? But if you just select the layer and hit Control Shift D, it automatically duplicates and splits the layer. That's called split layer. Then I can take this third version of the red box, unparent it by clicking on its drop down and saying none, and then at this moment it drops it, and then we open up our little mouth like this, and just for fun I will have it go back into the original position. So I'll copy each keyframe and paste it manually. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Do it here too. Copy, paste, and copy, paste. So this is what it looks like. Goes back into position. Now it looks like it's pushing the red box, So I think what I'll have it do right here is I'll have it lift way up first before the pincher control starts rotating. So it'll go like this, and then go into position and go to sleep. Okay, so now I select all my keyframes, hit F9 for easy ease, turn on motion blur for everything, save. Now I watch this and I probably go, ooh, this was way too slow. Let's watch it. That's pretty good. But sometimes you do all this animation, you realize, oh, this is really slow. I don't like this at all. And you may want to fix it. But it's pretty good, right? So this is some advanced parenting techniques using things like splitting layers. Sometimes they're parented, sometimes they're not, and using null objects. As you play around with parenting things, you'll notice when you make mistakes, it can have lasting effects. For example, if I did all this keyframing, then I moved the anchor point of a layer, everything would get messed up. So you just have to be very aware of those problems. But I hope that this was helpful. This is actually much more advanced than the parenting homework assignment. In the parenting homework assignment, I want you to use some of these same principles, but you don't have to worry about using things like null objects or splitting layers. And then in the parenting homework assignment, you're supposed to make some layers glow. I want you to do that manually without being taught how. Sometimes it's fun just to figure out how to make things glow or do things in After Effects on your own. So for that particular assignment, feel free to just set up the parenting similar to this, but then make the layers glow in any way you choose. I'll be grading it based on parenting and not based on how you make the layers glow. So thank you.